Hey there, Fro Nation, Jared here with another FroKnowsPhoto Raw Talk where I will be flying solo. So solo. The only way to go is solo. How about that? We didn't even start the Raw Talk yet, and I already came up with the tweet it out and Facebook it out. The only way to go is solo. Raw Talk. Make sure you put @FroKnowsPhoto in there, hashtag that, put it up on Facebook and say the only way to go is solo. And then you can add FroKnowsPhoto Raw Talk. There, we didn't even start, and there it is. Here, let me get comfortable here. So before we get into the Raw Talk, why don't I just thank allenscamera.com, the place where I get some really good stuff. Actually, where you guys can get some awesome stuff, whether it's used gear. And I said, if you want to sniff test it, you can sniff test it here at Allen's Camera, the physical store, or on allenscamera.com. You could lean up to the screen and be like, D4 smell through the screen. You could do that. But big thanks to Allen and Brandon and all those guys. Check out them on the web, allenscamera.com. A big thank you to Drobo. If you recently saw the picture of 3 Drobos stacked, 2 Drobo 5Ds and a Drobo Mini. I actually have a Drobo Mini over here. Drobo is being pretty helpful right now, and I like the product. So I've been using it for the past 2 years, and we'll have more information about that. And by the way, we're giving away a Drobo for the winner of the Photo of the Month contest. The theme is love. I'm not sure that by the time you're listening to this if you'll be able to enter, but if not, you can help vote to get the winner a Drobo. And BBOPokertables.com, the place where I have that poker table made, and I can be back to using it soon when I move into my loft. So we're going to fly solo this week. I went right into it. I got to take off this shirt. I'm going to get too hot because I'm going to get worked up. Hold on. If you take off my shirt, static cling on the hair, everybody who's watching out there. Boom. Oh, yeah, I just cracked my neck. Boom. Okay, so what's going on? I am going to go solo for this whole time. It's the only way to go, as we've already established. And, yeah, so why don't I give you an update on what's up? I am moving on Tuesday, and it's about time. The loft thing has been in the works for 4 months. There's anybody who knows anything about mortgages and being self-employed, trying to prove to them that you can actually pay a mortgage is a tough thing to do. That's why we had to wait until the new year. Ran into some issues with the fiscal cliff, not allowing for tax returns to be put in early this year, which was the plan. Anyway, it all worked out. I have the keys. I'm going to move in on Tuesday. Gonna have a party at some point for some people. Sam Green, you're invited, by the way. I'm going to invite you and Bieber. He can come over. Well, and whoever, you can bring a couple of people. Just you guys are too young. No drinking for you. Don't let me catch you, or I will flog you on the roof, on the rooftop deck, because there's a rooftop deck. But one of these days, I'll give you guys a tour of it when it's all set up, and I'm happy with what's there and all of that good stuff. So yeah, I've been kind of in a 4-month holding pattern. I've been back at my dad's place, which has been perfectly fine, gotten a lot of work done here, totally have my office set up, and just have to start the process of getting settled in on the next chapter of what I'm doing in life, and that's the loft. That's my home because I'm buying it, and it's not a rental, and I can make it my own, and it's getting painted right now. It's a funny thing about paint. The painter guys, they're people that I know, and everybody's like, you should go with an off-white paint because you don't want it too vibrant and too bright, and you want it to match with everything else. I'm like, dude, if I could paint rainbows on the wall, I probably would. So I think I've settled on bright-ass white. That's the color. It's called Bright-Ass White by Sherwin-Williams. Sherwin-Williams, yeah. I don't know what they call it, but it's the brightest assest white that you can find. And there's another term. If you want to say bright-ass white, you can put that up there too. Some key terms for listening to the podcast, so I know you guys listened. Put up whatever you want to put up anyway for special words, but use some of these other ones. I like reading them when you guys pull them out. Pull out some quotes that you liked from this week and put them up on the Twitter and on the Facebook. I love reading that and hearing what you got. So I want to go with bright ass white because I want to hang my photos and make them pop. So I want it to be like a gallery. I may have some accent walls. I don't know what colors I'm going to do yet. I've got somebody coming over to help me with that, a friend of mine, and really, I have less wall space than I had at the other loft because half of this place is covered with floor-to-ceiling windows almost. So there's 10 windows, and it's brick, so I got to figure out how I'm going to hang photos on brick, some maybe smaller metal prints from Adorama Pics. Oh, yeah, big thanks to AdoramaPics.com. It's where I do print those big-ass prints. And those metal aluminized prints, which I'm really digging, that thing, I think they'll look great on my walls. Check them out. I got to get some codes from them, some special codes just for you guys to get like 50% off prints again, because that's really worth it. Water. So we got that, and there's not as many walls to hang my stuff, and I still like the big prints, so I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do there. So moving on, really, with the loft, the plan there is I want to do some live shows again. I want to get roundtables. I want to have photo discussions for podcasts. And the reason you don't see me do different podcasts where I call people on Skype and Google Hangouts or on Spreecast is I really don't think it's that personal. They're not the same as if you're in person and you're sitting there talking to another photographer, interacting with them in a location. That is my goal with RAWtalk, is to do them in person with photographers and not just call them on Skype like I did with Mark Wallace, which was good, but to me, I want to sit across from somebody and I want to talk to them and I want to dig and I want to get information. So part of having the loft is bringing people back in so we can sit around the poker table with my logo on it and have discussions, and then bring in other photographers. Maybe have 5 people, just multiple different podcasts. And maybe there's other people, we start doing multiple ones, and maybe there's 3 a week or 2 different ones a week, one with just me and interviewing, and then as a round table with other photographers, and we do a weekly thing like that. I think that could be a lot of fun, with whether it's Richie, and I've got some things in the works that I think you guys are going to dig that's just going to help bring more content and bring more information and other personalities to the table, not just me, because it's good to get other people's opinions as well. Though I like my opinion, it's good to get other people's and then formulate what you want from that. So the live show is something I want to do out of the loft. I want to film better quality videos, and I've been talking with the film guys about that, and there's ideas, and it's just a matter of execution. Excuse me. The only way to make things happen is to go and do them. A lot of people ask, how do you do this? How do you do? I'm a procrastinator. I gotta force myself to go and do certain things, but I also know that it's good that when I do that, it's gonna pay off. I'm not gonna say I do things half-assed, because when I go all in, I'm all in on creating, like the website. I went all in for, it's been over 3 years, the site's almost 3 years old, so I've been all in for about 3 years preparing and going with content and doing all of that. So I hope you're still bearing with me. I know it's talking, but it's good information. We're going to get to a ton of questions. I should put my glasses on because I'm going to have to read. Even though I made the screen 8 trillion times larger so I could read the questions, I put out on Facebook for you guys to ask questions, and I'm going to answer as many as I can. They're in the order that I copied them out of the comment section. So there could be some awesome ones in the middle or at the end and all of that stuff. Water. So I think that should be about it for the new place. I can't wait to move in. I can't wait to take the content to the next level for you guys, and just for me too. I mean, I really appreciate you guys out there, and a lot of people ask, how do you get your motivation and stuff to keep going? I thrive on being creative. So as much as I enjoy creating and giving content and putting it out there into the world for people to enjoy, I love creating content myself. I mean, that's what keeps me going. If I am inactive, if I am not doing something, then I feel like crap. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know if it's something wrong. If it's multiple personalities. I don't think I got multiple personalities, but it's just a matter of, if I'm inactive and I'm not creating, even for like 2 days in a row, I feel like I'm not accomplishing anything, and I feel like I'm failing at something. And that's just my mentality, is I want to constantly create and make better content, not just for everybody out there, but for myself and for my well-being. That's just how it is. So it is time to answer your questions and fly solo. And one thing before we do that, if you haven't, for some reason, picked up the FroKnowsPhoto Beginner Guide, a guide to capturing motion in low-light situations, no, that's the free one I give away. You can sign up for that for free on the website in the orange box. But if you're looking to go above and beyond auto, if you're looking to get out of auto and figure out how we capture all these manual images, how I know what settings to set and composition, check it out, FroKnowsPhoto.com/guide. It is 3 hours long. It's $67. It's a digital download or a physical copy you can get with free shipping. A lot of people have picked it up already. You know, check it out if you haven't. I much appreciate it. By the way, it does help keep the site going. The more I always want to put out free stuff. I never want to get away from putting out free content, but being able to sell something to bring in income allows me to go and create more free content and then other bigger and better content. So that's where I'm at. So as you can see, maybe, possibly, I've got 6 pages of questions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's like 11 questions per page because I have it blown up to size huge so I can read it from sitting right here. So I'm going to go through these. Let's do it. Joe Taylor asks, other artists that inspire you? Question mark. Sorry, other arts, not artists. And I think what inspires me are photo stories, other amazing photo stories. Movies inspire me. I was watching Sound City, Dave Grohl's new documentary on Sound City Studios, and that was freaking inspiring. I love the analog feel of it. I love the fact that, you know, they're using tape, real, 2-inch tape to record the music because there's something about it that is just different than digital. But they do combine some of the digital with that to make it even better. And that gave me the want to go ahead and shoot film again, to grab my F5 out of the bag to my left, which is where it's at, shoot some black and white. I don't know what I'm going to use. I may use some 400, and I may use some Tri-X 30. No, is it Tri-X? No, it's HP5. It's Ilford HP5 or the 3200 speed film, which they actually told me is technically 800 speed film that you push to 3200. But I want to do that. I want to shoot a couple of rolls of black and white. Then I want to have the film crew follow. And I've said this for years, but I think I'm actually going to make it happen this time. Have the film crew follow me around into Antonelli, where I go and I process. I develop the negatives. Well, even before that, I have to put the negatives into the canister, in the light tight box, and then I have to put the chemicals in. I got to process that, develop the negatives, and then go through the whole process, start to finish, of printing, making contact sheets and test strips, and share that with you in a cool episodial type video. Speaking of, I'm going to drink water. Episodical. Ari says I make up my own words, and I guess I do, because episodical I don't think is a word, but when I want to make episodical type content, I mean, I want to make something that's like a half an hour long. I want to make something that's like a show where you can sit back and watch it on your TV and think you're watching the Discovery Channel. So it's kind of what I want to do, and that is my major times 7 goal. There's another one for you guys out there. Major times 7. Major goal times 7. You can post that for this year. Making better content like that. So I hope that movies inspire me a shit ton. Movies and old ways that people did things. Just the classics. Stuff like that. Michael L. Dunlap. Is your upcoming Flash video solely done with speed lights, or did you use some studio strobes as well? Do you know the release date for the video? So we used a single flash. We use speed lights. Adam and I filmed the FroKnowsPhoto Beginner Guide to Flash Photography, and so what are we calling it? FroKnowsPhoto Beginner Flash Guide. I think that's what we're calling it. And we use speed lights. We thought about using studio strobes. If we do an extra photo shoot and maybe include it as bonus, we may do an all-out studio shoot with studio strobes just so that people can see how we do that. But again, the point behind the Flash Guide is that you start with the very fundamentals of understanding how to set your flash in manual and understand the exposure triangle as it correlates to flash photography. Then you start with 1, and then you can add 2, 3, 4, 5, 27 flashes because you understand how to control the very basics. And, I really wish that I was taught this with Flash years ago. And through the whole process of filming this, it just made it even more clear to me how to set the off-camera flash with speed lights. I've done studio lights for 10, 12 years. I did it in college. I did it after college. I have my own white lightnings. I can set up a studio light and do all of the cool things that I want to do. But speed lights in the field, something small with a light stand and 1 flash, once you master that, you can open up the world of flash photography to you. Ed Maldonado. Hey, Ed, how are you? Ed won a video guide once. I would like to see another video guide of how to get out of auto more advanced, and by the way, these are the order that the questions came in, so I'm not, pitching, and I'm not trying to sell you guys anything. This is just how they come in. I would like to see another video guide of how to get out of auto more advanced, or a continuation to the first one, including when, where, and how to use Flash. Well, I guess we just answered the Flash part. Thanks for all the Fro videos. So I'll answer that. A lot of people ask for advanced guides. I find it very hard to teach advanced photography because advanced people should, at that point, understand a lot of what they're trying to capture or what I'm trying to do. I think the way that I can best teach advanced photography is by watching me on particular shoots. If it's a concert, following me through the whole process and then letting me talk to the camera and just brain dumping every piece of information that I could ever think of, that is the way that I could do an advanced video. And I may do that for weddings, and I may do that for, off the top of my head, sports and concerts, and you'll need an understanding of the basics still, because I'm not going to go back to the very basics when I'm doing these advanced guides. If I do them, I'm going to just spit out information like, I raised my ISO because of this. I dropped this because of that. And this correlates with this because that's how it is. So having an understanding of the basics will definitely help you out. Oh, geez, here's another one. Sam Green. What's in store for future boot camps and photo walks? So this is how I plan. I would like to do 6 to 10 boot camps and photo walks this year. Waiting on some scheduling stuff from Adam because he's got some major photo shoots that he has to take care of first, because that's first and foremost and the most important thing in the world is making sure that you have those major paying gigs down. I'd like to do a tour, whether it's up in Boston, New York, DC, down to Austin. We didn't do Texas. We did a photo walk there. We need to do Nashville. I definitely have to go to see you guys in Chicago. Maybe go out to Seattle. But I think we may stay with 6 to 10 dates. Fly-in dates, you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Maybe we'll throw in there a flash boot camp if people are interested that Adam takes the lead in. That would be really awesome. Maybe do boot camp on Saturday for beginners and basic stuff, and then Sunday would be flash, and maybe Friday when we would come in, we would do a photo walk. So it would be a busy 3 days, but that's what we're thinking. And photo walks are always free, everybody. Kristen J.L. Logan-Brown. How many bags is enough? I'm up to 4 now. LOL. You never have too many bags. I guess it's like women and purses and shoes and clothes. The honest truth is I have 8 trillion bags because all the companies keep sending them to me. Whether I use them is another story. I've got think tank bags, I've got Vanguard bags, and I now have a whole bunch of low pro bags coming because low pro wants me to play with their stuff. And you know, it's funny. You know, these companies, they come by and they're like, you know, will you use our gear? We'll pay you to use. You know, some people do offer to give you money to use their gear. And I said to Low Pro, I'm like, look, honestly, I've used my think tanks for a long time, and think tank doesn't pay any photographers that I know of to use their gear. They may give you gear to review because obviously, if they give me gear and I share it with the world, it's kind of like they didn't. You know, they're getting free advertising, but I'm getting a bag out of it. Now, I'm not all about free gear at all because it's not what I'm looking for. But with the Low Pro, I sat there and they weren't saying they would pay me to use their product. That they weren't saying that at all. They wanted me to. They want to do some sponsoring and advertising, and I just said, look, I really love my think tank bags. I think what you're going to have to do is send me bags and allow me to use them, because then I can see what it's like, and I can go, oh, I like this because this doesn't do that, or this is a really good bag because it offers me what I'm looking for. So Low Pro is sending me out a whole set of bags, and they also have Gorilla Pods, which I freaking love those things. I use that with my in Aruba with the GoPro camera, and I freaking love that thing. It was great. So they're sending me a whole bunch of their stuff, and I'm going to play with it, and I'm going to review it, and I may let other people review some stuff because there's other people's opinions out there. So really, I have a couple of go-to bags. I've got my Think Tank Airport Security for traveling. I have my Think Tank Airport International, which we put 3 microphones for doing RAWtalks on location. We put 3 stands, all the XLR cables, and all the stuff we need in one bag. So we can do interview up to 3 people. Well, 2 other people and myself, or myself and a photographer. Or sorry, Ari would yell at me for saying myself and a photographer. It's me and another photographer. And if Ari wants to grab a mic, we have 3 mics, and we can do that. So I also have a shoulder bag, and then I got 8 million other bags. a couple of bags is enough. You need what you can travel in, a backpack for shooting out of, and a shoulder bag for shooting out of when you need to move quickly. That, I think, I think there's 3 types of bags you can have. And there's always extras, but Ryan Crosan. I love photography. Excuse me. Let me speak English here. I love photography, but since I lost my job and have a 1-year-old, I somehow lost a passion to just go out and shoot. Go out a shoot. It means and. How can I get the passion to just pick up my camera and shoot again? I ran into this problem a long time ago. This was right before digital. I was shooting after college, and I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't going out and shooting for fun. Everything had to be a job, and when it's a job, then it's not fun anymore. And if it's not fun, you don't want to do it, and all of that good stuff. So what happened is I got back to digital. Like, digital can't, not back, I got into digital, and that really pushed me because I could see the results of what I was capturing. Now, that's 8 years ago, 2003? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13? That's 10 years ago? It's 2013, that's right. And I got my first camera in 2003. Good math, Jared. Way to use your fingers to count. It was really simple because 2003 and 13 is only 10 years apart. So I got the digital, and it got me into photography again, and I loved it. So how do you get passion back today? You go out and you just create. You shoot something that you really freaking enjoy and you're passionate about. You don't worry about your settings. Go out and shoot freaking pictures and have fun. If it's hanging out with the guys and just taking pictures of pool, if it's hanging out with the guys and shooting, I don't know what. Just go and don't think and shoot and enjoy and don't overcomplicate it. Set your camera somewhere. I don't give a shit if you set it to auto. I really do, but I don't. If you need to set it to auto and you just want to take pictures and have fun, so be it. Doesn't matter. Whatever helps you get that passion back. And I think going out and shooting for fun is how you're going to get your passion back. Connie Harrison, what is the best advice for someone wanting to go pro? So I get asked this question in numerous different fashions all the time. Excuse me as I drink some water. This notion that you want to go pro, I don't know if that's the right mentality to have. You may want to make it a career. You may want to start making more money at it. But this notion that you may one day possibly want to go pro. What is the best advice for someone wanting to go pro? I know I'm trying to find the right words without discouraging anybody, and it's a good question. I do get asked it a lot, and I'm dancing around it right now. The best advice is to just start shooting and getting paid. And then the next question is, how do I get paid to do photography? There's just some things you need to figure out. There's some things that you have to feel out on your own because I can't give you the answers. You have to just figure out what works best for you. If you want to become a professional photographer, you have to make sure you can sustain yourself and your family or other obligations that you have, because photography is not easy to make money at. It really isn't. You have to be willing to sacrifice certain things. You sometimes have to shoot things you don't want to shoot that pay in order to allow you to shoot things that you love that don't pay. So you have to find your way in the world today. It takes everything you've got. Cheers. So really, my best advice is make sure that you have either if you have your full-time job, start to add 1 day a week that's set aside to shoot photos where you have sessions and you make some money. As you start to get busier and busier, start to add more days where you start cutting back at the full-time job if you can. If it's a part-time job, have part-time. There's a lot of a lot of photographers today have multiple sources of income. It's not just photography. Some of them do DJing. Some of them do other things that allow them to continue to be a photographer and make money. So you could be a professional photographer and still have a day job. Just if you have the flexibility to make money and go out and shoot when you need to, that's what it's about. And then some people get to the point where they can fully sustain themselves with photography. If you shoot 20 weddings a year and you're making, say, $3,000 a wedding, you know, is that enough to sustain yourself? I mean, that's only 20 weekends or 20 days out of a year you're doing wedding photography. Then that's the, you know, if you're profiting $3,000 out of a wedding, means you're charging maybe more. And there's always expenses, but shit, 50 grand. And then you can add subsequent other photo shoots, maybe $300. Like, my favorite is when somebody calls, can you shoot my party? You know, it's Saturday night or Friday, I'm doing a party. I'm like, yeah, you know what? $400. And I'm going to give you all the photos, and you can do whatever you want with them. I'm checking I got a text message and stuff. You can do whatever you want with these photos. I'm going to make it easy for you. You need me to shoot your party? Awesome. 2 hours, $200. 2 hours, $350, $375. Sometimes saying $375 is better than saying $400. Just why sometimes a video guy's $67 instead of $77 or $70. It feels less like a burn, right? So when you're, you know, if you can add a photo shoot during a week, imagine you add 2 of those a week. You just made $800. You made $700. You made $600. That's rent, depending on where you live in this country or the world. That's more than rent. That could be like a year's worth of something in some third world country. You may not be making $400 for shooting a party in another country, but look, there's those jobs out there. You can pick them up, but, you know, make sure that you are ready to make that jump and you can sustain yourself or keep that part-time job. I go back to Blind 7. Is it Blind 7 Photography? I had his name in my head earlier, but at least I remembered Blind 7. If you guys remember back in the day, he was a chef and doing photography on the side, and he had basic gear. I think it was a Nikon D100 that he was working with, but he was doing a fantastic freaking job. And we did a review of his stuff. I think I did a rapid fire critique, and I loved what he was doing. And I said, look, you've got it. You know, if you can go and make the jump, you can really be successful here. And he had the drive, and I believe he left the other job. What? I can't remember. Why can't I remember Blind 7? Why can't I remember your name right now? I don't know, but somebody remind me or email me again. And I definitely want to follow up and see how you're doing, because he made that jump. He's like, I left my other job and I'm full in on photography. So that's what he did. Anyway, I went long on that question. I'll keep going because I got 17 more pages to go. David Brown, how to get past the fear of starting your own business. You get past the fear of starting your own business. That's how you do it. I mean, I sometimes say things just straight up, honest and simple. You got to get past the fear. If you're afraid of something, you either do it or you don't. You just got to take some risks are worth it. And like I just said up above, how do you get past, you know, how do you become a pro? All of this stuff. Past the fear is you either go all in or you go part the way in until you can make that jump fully and you just do it. It's scary as shit, right? If you fail, you freaking fail. So you go back and do something else. But if you don't try, you're never going to succeed. So you got to get past the fear. How do you get past the fear of doing anything? You do it. I jumped out of a freaking airplane. Was I scared? No. Was I scared 15 minutes after I jumped out of the airplane and landed and was sitting there? Yes. I psyched myself out the whole time before, leading up to it, until I landed and realized, what the hell did I just do? So, there. Mark Arnold, if you had a time machine, what historical event would you want to photograph? Same question, but with a band or a concert. So let's take the concert part first. I mean, can you just say that Woodstock would have been an amazing place to go photograph? There with Jim Marshall, there with Martin Scorsese, who was doing the documentary. He was working on the documentary as a film student. Annie Leibovitz, Baron Wolman, I'm sure. All of these old photographers, well, now old photographers were at Woodstock. I mean, that would be some music event that I would have shot. Historical event. If you had a time machine, what historical event would you want to photograph? That is hard because there are so many things or people that would be amazing to photograph. I mean, I don't want to say World War II, but could you imagine? You want to talk about a fear. You know, we had a fear of starting a business. Could you imagine what you go through when you're shooting and people are shooting bullets at you and you have to capture images of this stuff? Imagine that. I would not want to shoot D-Day, landing on the Omaha beach and shooting those photos. Great story about the photographer who did all that, by the way. Just a quick note on what happened. He sent the film back. They put it in the machine, in the film dryer. They cranked the film dryer up. and they lost some of the images because it kind of like melted the negatives or something along those lines. Excuse me, drinking water. What historical event? It's so hard to say what historical event I would like to photograph. I mean, again, the wars, you know, these civil wars, that stuff's just crazy. I'm gonna have to leave that open. What historical events would you guys photograph? Either leave it on Twitter, Facebook, put it on my where else could you put it? If you're watching on YouTube, leave it as a comment. Okay, Chris Frozen. Hey, Chris Frozen is like 6'7", by the way. He's a big drink of water. If you were to shoot with one camera, old or new, for the rest of your life, what would it be and why? Well, I could say the D4. I love my D4. If I was happy with the D3, it didn't do video. So at the time when the D3 came out, I could have been happy shooting forever with that. Then I was really happy with the D3S. I love shooting with that. Thought I could shoot with that camera forever, and you really could, but right now, I could shoot forever with the D4. If I had to shoot film, I'd grab my F5 again, but film's going to be harder to find. Chris, that photo guy Cox. Any advice for a beginner who just got a D3200? Yeah, the simplest, bestest, most awesomest advice for a beginner is learn the freaking basics. Understand your camera inside and out. Not even your camera. I don't care what camera you have, whether you have a box camera with a pinhole in it or you have a freaking D4, which you shouldn't have that as your first camera if you don't understand the fundamentals. Understand the fundamentals and basics of photography. That is the best advice for a beginner. Glass times 23. There's another one for you. Glass times 23. That's going to help you get better pictures or understand better, and it doesn't have to be expensive. That's my best advice. Larry Sanders. What's more important, marketing or quality of work? Question mark. I understand you have to offer a good product, but I see that in a lot of cases, some photographers are better at marketing themselves than images they create. Notes. I left myself notes. Both. The answer is both, and we've seen this a lot. You can build the greatest website in the world, but if nobody knows about you, nobody's going to hire you. I sat around a long time waiting for people to find my website. And I'm not saying I had the greatest website in the world. I'm saying I sat around hoping that somebody would find me, and I knew I had great work, and I'm very confident in the work that I do, but it wasn't happening. Why? I didn't put myself out there. There were other photographers that I didn't think were as good that were getting jobs because they marketed themselves very well. They put themselves into situations to be successful. And if their work was subpar, it's subpar to me. It may not be subpar to the client who's really happy with them. Case in point, my buddy Al Zaroli. He probably won't be listening to this, but everybody that knows me that's local and knows Al Z is a good friend of mine, and Al is a businessman first who so happens to push a button to take pictures. And he'll be the first to tell you it's about making money. He's a business person first. Al's a great guy to schmooze. He loves being around people. He puts himself in the right situations. He's the guy that can get the job done. Whether he gets the job done well is always up for interpretation because he fights me on buying better glass. He's like, I don't care, JP. I'm going to use this glass because it's inexpensive. And I bump my ISO up and nobody cares. And I don't shoot RAW all the time because I don't have to. If it's an important photo, I'll take it in RAW. And then I get a call from Al. Hey, JP, I messed up this JPEG. I screwed it up. Can you fix it for me? And that's just what happens. It's a mix of both. Market yourself and have quality work. Quality work trumps almost anything. But if nobody knows about you, nobody's going to find you. Okay, J.R. Wyatt. Which social media website have you found the most valuable to expand your brand? I'll start with the first one that I chose to hit, and that is YouTube. Without YouTube, most of you, if not 97.63.4297% of you, would not know. If you guys can remember that number, you can tweet that one out as well. Most of you would not have found me. I put myself out there using YouTube. I chose to use YouTube because it's Google. Google owns YouTube. Google owns the search world. If I put stuff on YouTube, then it's going to show up in searches and people are going to find me and find my site and come back and learn. Then I added, there was the Twitter, and then I added Facebook, and that's how I branched out into the social media world. But YouTube was it for me. That's where it started. Mitchell Cochran, do you use a back button focus? Why or why not? No. I really don't use it for shooting photos. It's a Canon thing mostly. Nikon's give it to you, the option. It's cool if you, I don't like it for the continuous thing because you're holding that down and shooting pictures at the same time or focus is shifting. I'm not a big fan of it. When it comes to video, though, I use back focusing button for video. That's just for some reason. Stephen Brenner. How to know if you're optimized your exposure based on the histogram for a variety of situations. This is how you know you've optimized your photo for different situations using the histogram. You don't use the histogram. I'm going to say that. I'm going to take my socks off because it's hot in here. I'm going to leave my pants on, though, for those of you guys on the podcast. So the histogram is a visual representation of your exposure. I am not a fan of it because I don't think it really gives me what I'm looking for. If you have the most perfectly exposed scene, you're supposed to have a nice spike in the middle, a nice spread out spike of data. Okay, that can work, but again, if you're in a really bright situation, you're going to have a spike all the way to the right. I believe it's the right or the left, whatever. You have a big ass spike, but your exposure could be perfect for the subject. Or it could be a really dark scene, and your spike is not evenly spread out in the middle, which is the optimized histogram place for that they want it. I'm not a histogram fan, as you can tell. So, I am more of a fan of looking at your screen and going, oh, you know what? There's detail there. That photo looks properly exposed for what I'm looking for. And yes, that's chimping. I am okay with that too because the wonderful people in the world of making cameras gave us a screen to look at. And sure, it's not perfect, but it's damn close. It's within a half a stop or less, maybe even a quarter of a stop of being close, depending on the brightness that you set it at. But that's my answer to that. Adam Greenbaum, welcome, Brotherhood. Any tips for taking headshots using only natural light? It is often more flattering than strobes. I don't fully agree with that, but I do agree with it somewhat. And I'm not really interested in picking up multiple off-camera flash units at this point. I used to kind of buy into that as well, and I think that it was more laziness for me not wanting to carry around flashes. Adam carries around 5, 6, 7, 27 flashes, and he will use them and set up 5 or 6 different ones doing different things during a shoot. That's his way of shooting. Any tips for taking headshots using only... I use natural light. Watch my 5-minute portraits. They're, all of them except for one are done with natural light, except for 2. There's the Zach Arias one and the Richie Myers one, I believe. Well, there's some others. But natural light. It can look like it's done with the flash, or a really good flash photo looks like it's done with natural light. So, those are my tips. Watch my 5-minute portraits and just go out and work with the light. How we doing here? Let me make sure the time... Oh, good. I still have got 20 minutes to go through 3 more pages of this. I'm going to do it, though. Bradley Watson. Your opinions on why young photographers are looked down on, why they don't get the job, even with a strong portfolio. Notes. I have notes here. Okay. So you got guys out there like Joey L. Whoa. Who started somehow making his way in the world today as like a 17-year-old, an 18-year-old, shooting huge artists because he made it. Somehow he got into it. He made his way and found it. And he was young, but nobody gave a shit because they liked the quality of work that he was doing, and he made it happen. I think a lot comes down to confidence. If you have the confidence in your work, but you have the work to back it up. Because experience is important. I don't care if you're 12 years old, or you're 23, or you're 47, or you're 68. If you've got the work to back up your confidence, then it shouldn't matter how old you are. I don't care if you're 12. If you're 12 and you get amazing photos and you can handle it and you can get the job done, good. By all means, I could hire you if you could do that. There's child labor laws, but maybe are there child labor laws if you're working for yourself? I don't know. I don't know those answers. But photographers, yeah, you're looked down on if you don't have the experience. If you just say that you can do it, people may not believe you, and that's the experience thing, and that happens with the being younger. But if you can back it up with quality work, let the work speak for itself. Do not, one thing I'm tired of is the, hey, I'm a 14-year-old photographer. Good for you. All right? Don't lead with that. You know, I don't care. Lead with, you know what? Hey, I'm a photographer. Own it. Own it. You're a freaking photographer. I don't care that you're 14 and a photographer. Sure, it's cool that it stands out like, wow, this 14-year-old kid is awesome and making mad money selling photos. Be confident in yourself. Don't lead off with, hey, I'm a 14-year-old photographer looking to shoot your job. You know what? I'm a photographer and I've got amazing work to back it up, and you should hire me because I am fucking awesome. Earmuffs. I'm supposed to say earmuffs before I say curse words. I hope that doesn't negate my clean standing on iTunes. But really, I'm passionate about that. Own it. If you are 14, 15, whatever, if you prove to people that you have the experience to do it, all that matters is your work. If you throw a book on the table, imagine this. You throw 5 portfolios on the table. You're 14, the other guys are 50, and you have the better work and it gets voted on and they pick your work. Does it matter that you were 14? No. Did you tell them you were 14? No. Does it matter? No. It matters the work you put out there. So be confident in what you do. Mike, knee, right? N-E-I would be knee. Any plans for a Seattle event this year? It would be interesting to have you interview Chase Jarvis. I would try to set that up and maybe do a combined Fro Chase to walk. Fro Chase to walk. Interesting. We do have plans for Seattle. I see Southwest flies there, and I've got lots of Southwest points added up. So I may, at some point, fly out to Seattle to do that. Mark Walker. I currently have a D3100, and I feel it's time to upgrade. I'm looking at the D7000, or will I want to upgrade again in a couple of years? I don't know. Will you? Should I go full frame and get the D600 now? Thanks, Mark. You should get good glass. If you have the option of buying a D600 or a D7000, the answer every single time right now is going to be a D600. Full frame trumps everything, but not everything, because then there's medium format, but you know what I'm saying. Full frame with shitty glass or D7000 with amazing glass. The price differences are nothing these days. $12.99 for a 7000, or maybe even less. Alan's probably got them used, and I've seen D600s for like $1,600. Get the D600, but put good glass on it. If you do not put good glass on full frame cameras, you're doing yourself a disservice, and you should have your camera taken away from you by the take the camera away from people who don't shoot properly service. They'll come and take your camera. Quality glass, guys. Full frame is a whole new animal. You get a lot better images from it. Put good glass on it. Aaron Kanavoski. Do you think in general people are too easily impressed with image quality, sharpness / depth of field that a DSLR produce and mistake that for a quality image artistry vision? I do think in general that people are impressed with crap. And that's non-photographers being impressed with what they perceive to be amazing photos because somebody blew the background out, or an Instagram put the blurriness on there. And is Instagram dying out slowly? Maybe I'm not using it as much. Are you? I don't know. I think Vine's really kicking ass, but it's a little, it's more creative. You got to be a little creative with it. In general, I think people are impressed with what they perceive to be quality work. But when they see even better quality work, they're even more freaking impressed. You know what's funny? What's funny is for a long time, people have been very happy with the work I've done. And that's been a blessing and a curse at the same time, because I've built myself up in such a way, even before the website, as being a very selective shooter. Only shooting certain things, because that's just, I don't know, selective shooter. You kind of build up that supply and demand thing. If you're low on supply, then people want you to work more. But then what also happened is people are like, I didn't call you first because I thought you'd be too expensive. And that's not a good place to be when people they hire somebody else and they're like, but I didn't think that I could afford you. And that's great to think that my work's so good that you couldn't afford me. But then I was sitting around not getting jobs because people thought they couldn't afford me, yet they never asked. So you got to be very careful there. But yeah, people are easily impressed. Just put out quality work. August Joseph Marchetti III. What do you look for when looking to rent a small studio space? I don't look for renting a small studio space. And I read something on Strobist, and all the Flash people out there read Strobist, where a kid was like, hey, how do I get my dean at college to invest in building a studio? And the answer was, you don't need that. You can set up a studio anywhere. If you've got open space and you tape a backdrop to the wall, you've got a studio. If you've got a long hallway that's not even wide, you've got a studio to shoot verticals. Anywhere can be your studio. So I honestly don't look for a studio space. My loft is going to be a freaking studio. I'm not a big fan of having like an office or an extra place that you have to pay money for when you can just do that out of your own other working environment, or use somebody's basement, or use a warehouse, or use a storage locker, you know? So that's my answers. I don't look for a place to rent like that. I really don't. Rise Wipeout. How do you enhance your creativity? Do you shoot other formats, film, Polaroid, just to get inspiration and creativity? I think photographers nowadays are missing out about creativity. And I left notes here to talk about Sound City again. Yeah, Sound City, like I said earlier, made me want to go shoot the film. How do I enhance my creativity? Is I try different things. Like if I want to shoot with Vine, which anybody who doesn't know Vine, you get 6 seconds to make a movie. Now you don't, the point is you don't hold down the button to shoot all 6 seconds at once. You create like these short clips and you just tap it and it shoots a little more, and tap it again, it shoots a little more. So things that give you the ability to be creative and take it back to the basics and challenging yourself is how I do it. That's how I enhance it. I just go back to the very basics. If that's going and shooting a roll of film using that first camera that I borrowed from my mom shooting basketball, then that's how I enhanced my creativity. So trying different things. Yes, Polaroid. Yes, film. Yes, Instagram. Anything that allows you to just be creative. Brandon Feige. F-I-E-G-E. Feige? Sorry. What job do you think you might have had if you were not a photographer? Probably a salesperson. I'd be selling something. I'm a pretty good salesperson, and I love selling. I loved being at the camera store and helping people find the right camera for them. As my dad always said, sell the sizzle, not the steak. What that means is don't read the box to them and tell them what the camera can do. Tell them what the camera's going to do for them. That's how I teach on here. I sell the sizzle, not the steak. Here is what you can do with this amazing device in 5 easy steps for 3 payments of $73.99 on FlexPay. Ariel Starbuck. Jared, imagine you're 70 years old. I don't want to. And you can no longer jump up and down stages with all the music's bands. What kind of photos would you be taking then? Thank you very much, Fro. That's a hard question. If we're going to just jump to 70 years old and like be Jim Marshall, you adapt. You find your way of doing things. I may not be able to jump up and down on stage. I may just find my own place and sit there and shoot that angle. It's a good question, but who knows what music's going to look like in 40 years? Under 40 years? 30-some freaking years, and I'm 70. I don't want to think about that damn question, Ariel, sorry. But yeah, that's a tough one. Cole Flynn. Here's a long question. I have been shooting portraits and engagement shots for a few years now. Recently, some return customers have asked me about shooting weddings. I am fully comfortable with my capabilities and equipment, but I am worried about potential mishaps that could result in me being liable for huge expenditures if I fail to deliver on their important day for any reason, equipment failure, travel problems, etc. Are you insured as a photographer? If so, what kind of plan do you have? If not, what do you choose? Or so, thanks for you. So, contract for shooting weddings. First off, congratulations on building up a brand loyalty. You shoot photos of somebody doing something and then they want you to shoot their wedding. That's awesome. That's how you start making money as a photographer. You got to get past this fear. You have backup gear. You have other people in the area that if something happens, you can always call them to help you out. You need to have a contract. In your contract, it needs to state that you're not liable for certain things other than giving back their money. You can't be sued if you F up, earmuffs, their photos. You say that you're only on the hook to return their money or something. Ideally, you don't want that to happen, but you can get liability insurance. I've got liability for $3 million coverage if somebody trips and falls over a piece of gear. I've got that. I've got equipment insurance if it breaks or is stolen or is run over by a car or dropped into the water. So that stuff's, you know, you got to get over the fear. You just got to deliver your job. You got to take all the precautions necessary, have your insurance, do a good job, have backup equipment, make sure you've got backup photographers in case you can't do it, but make sure you're backed up. Have a lawyer write you up a contract that allows you to not be liable. Like, you need to say sometimes, some people have to put into their contract that, look, if I don't get a certain image and you're not happy with that, shit happens, you know? You may not have told me or something, or I cannot be held liable if I don't capture a certain image a certain way that you want it. I mean, really, you just have to protect your ass. Tim Cummins, do you have a mantra set of rules when approaching a shoot job? Do you always start from the same point and look at the subject, etc.? I guess I don't have a mantra I say, like always shoot raw or set that stuff, but when I go out and I shoot, I look. I see what is in front of me, and I think of my settings. I think of how I want to shoot it. I pre-visualize a shoot before I'm there, and I just try to figure it out. I figure out what my settings should be, and I try to capture it. My mantra, get out there and just think about it. See the world, capture it, be confident in what you're doing. So that's really it. Mitchell Cochran, do you use your in-camera meter? If so, what mode? Yeah, absolutely. I do use my meter. My meter is mostly set to the 3D matrix metering or the evaluative meter in the Canons. That means it's going to take a reading of the whole entire scene, the brightest, the darkest, and give you the middle representation. I use the meter. I look at it inside the camera. If the light's changing, I go, oh, my meter just jumped. I better dial my camera down this way. So it's more of a visual thing for me. I see it and I make changes. But I don't usually use a meter because I use it maybe for the starting point. If I'm not guessing my setting for the first point, I'm looking at the meter and I'm looking and I go, oh, all right, that's telling me theoretically right in the middle, it's going to give me a good shot. Let me take that picture and look at it. And by the way, talking about chimping, this is a good note. I'm going to write a note, hold on, for chimping because I'm going to make a video. Chimping used to be Polaroid. So back in the day, when you would take a picture using either a 4x5, you would take test shots. And medium format, you could get Polaroid backs. Is that chimping? Is that bad to make sure that your photo is right before you take the rest of them? I'm saying don't look at the picture don't look at the screen every time you take a picture. But it's okay to take a picture, look at it to check your settings. Are you close? If you're damn close, then go ahead and shoot. If you're not, make a correction. Look at your meter. So I'm okay with that. Okay, good question. Any plans of a boot camp in New England? Yes. Gonna head to Boston at some point. Stephen Scott. Have you ever broken a camera or lenses in any way? Yeah, my D3S, I bent the thingy inside. So in a Nikon, there's this thingy that flips up and down when you shoot a picture. And I bent it, putting a 300 2.8 on it. I bent it back. It still worked on the AFS lenses, but the older lenses, it didn't do it. Canon people don't have to worry because that lever is not in your Canon cameras because they all talk digitally to their lenses. For some reason, Nikon still has this freaking thing that cost me $300 to get unbent and replaced. Lenses, knock on some wood, no. I had a lens. I had my camera bag fall out of the car once, but I stopped it with my foot. So, knock on wood, forehead. Brandon Figueroa. No, Brandon Faigi. Again? Is this more questions? What is the most important thing to do when photographing, camera settings, techniques, etc. to get the sharpest image? Sharpest image, make sure your shutter speed's fast enough. Make sure you have enough depth of field, meaning make sure your aperture is set to a point that can not guarantee you, but make sure you get the proper focus point. Focus point, continuous focus versus single focus. mean, those are the things that go through my mind. Is my shutter speed in the right area? Does my ISO, is it bumped up high enough to give me a fast enough shutter speed? Is my depth of field, my aperture set to the right point to give me the focus point that I want? Is my focus point where I want it? Mark Nice. Nice. I'm going to just call it Mark Nice. NYCZ. Nice. How does one use a fisheye lens the right way? You don't shoot every picture with a fisheye. That's how you do it the right way. You fill the frame, you get your composition right. This is where symmetry comes into play. Even left to right, top to bottom, front to back. That's where a fisheye lens comes in handy. Center like you're right in the middle and everything looks great. Other than that, don't break it out of the bag too often, because there's the wrong way to do it is shooting every single picture with it, because you can just, I saw a guy shoot a concert. Every concert photo he took was with a fisheye and it sucked. Pat Coup, right? C-O-U-X. It's like coup. If I'm shooting ISO 400 film, do I have to set my camera ISO differently? How does the ISO 400 film affect the in-camera ISO? Okay, so I actually wrote this down a couple days ago to make a video about. So on a film canister, there is a, if you look on the side of it, there's some metal, and there's some white. It's like kind of like a barcode, but it's not a barcode. They're squares. Your they were the same. So 100 would always have the same thing on a canister. 200, 400, 64, 25, 100, 200, 400, 800, 1600, 300. They all had their own. The camera would read it. But there is a way to independently set the ISO in a camera if you want to push the exposure. You would have to override it, or you would put tape over the canister so the camera couldn't read it, and then you would have to manually set that in your camera. Like the D5, the F5, holy crap. The F5, I could set that myself manually. I could override what the canister was telling me, but in some of the other cameras, you got to put tape over it, and then set your ISO somehow. Oh, I guess you could do it in all cameras because you always had to be able to set the ISO. So yeah, that's how you do it. If you say that you're using 400 yet you set it to 800, the camera thinks you're using 800 ISO. So your camera, the meter is going to read based off of that. Ken Arnold, excuse me, the second. I've been wondering about this. Is there any benefit of using an 85 1.4 or 1.8 over a 7200 2.8 for portraits besides the depth of field? I would think the 7200 would be better since you can compress the background more. So, yeah, the 7200 I prefer using for the versatility, but an 85 for shooting portraits is great. Yes, you'll still compress the background well. You can blow out the background too, shooting at 1.4. The benefits of using it is they tend to be sharper. Fixed focal length lenses tend to be sharper, prime lenses sharper, and also more contrast. The 1.4 of an 85 1.4, I think, is more contrasty than a 1.8. It just pops more straight out of the camera. Alonzo Werner, on your portrait shoots, are you ever in full manual mode, or are you in aperture priority with some autofocus? If you're asking for full manual in terms of autofocus, I am 99.99.7.3% of the time in autofocus, either continuous or single, unless I'm doing macro where I have to focus it because the camera just can't do it. My eyes don't allow me to focus well manually, so I am in manual only for that one situation, which is macro. But let's see, it's the second part. In terms of manual mode, I'm never in aperture priority anymore. I'm full manual just about really all the time when I'm shooting photos in terms of the exposure. Yeneth Lanson. I'm obsessed with having sharp in-focus pictures. Is this a healthy obsession? Absolutely. It should be a healthy obsession. When is it okay to have just a little blur, like the tiniest bit of out-of-focusness? Do you allow any, or are you obsessed as me? So there's multiple ways to look at this. Yes, I'm obsessed with tack-sharp images. There are times where movement in images can play a great part. For example, during an environmental portrait of, say, a chef, if they have a wok or they're flipping something, if the shutter speed is slow enough that allows their hands, or they're chopping something, to show motion with the hands moving, yet they're still tack sharp in the face, that is perfectly awesome to me. Weddings are another place where if it's not perfectly tack sharp and I'm the only one, and I can see that, I may still deliver it to the client because they may just like the picture anyway and they may not know the difference. So there is a cross-section depending on what you're going for. If you're going for a little bit of motion, I hope that something is still in focus and tack sharp. Is this the last page? Yeah, we're almost there. How far are we in? Are we in over an hour? Oh, snap, it's 58 minutes. Dale Nevin, with so many photos that get submitted to Flickr and the forum, what is the criteria used to pick for the top 20 or so? Okay, good question. So the criteria that I'm using for the photo of the month theme, which I think is what you're asking, is there's no criteria anymore other than you follow the rules and it's taken at the right time. If a picture stands out, and it may not be something I like, for whatever reason, I may just pick it. I may just pick things that I don't like because maybe somebody else would vote for it. This happened in the first month. Photos that I may not have picked ended up being in the top 5. But that's why you guys get the choice to help whittle it down to the top 5, and I may just get a panelist to pick the winner out of the top 5 in the future. But actually, I like how you guys vote for the top 5 as well, and then the panelists may hold more weight or something. Maybe we'll weight that. Like, I get a vote, the panelists get a vote, and then the readers get the maximum, a vote too, like on American Idol. So that's how I pick them. If I think they're interesting and that somebody could find them to work, or maybe if I don't find it interesting, I pick it. Hunter Henriksen, when you review a DSLR lens or an Allen's camera, do you buy it yourself or do they let you borrow it for the video? Good question. If it's a DSLR body, 9 times out of 10, I am not shooting it. Especially pro bodies, we do not shoot at all. Like, if you take out a 5D Mark III, D4, I may just sniff it and put it back in the box. Or if I test something, even like a D600 or maybe, I guess, a pro body like a D800, it won't be sold as new. If I'm taking pictures with it, it will be noted, and they may charge maybe $50 less. It's still basically new because I'm not going to kill it, but it's not going to be sold as new. It's going to be sold as like new. It was shot in this situation, and it will be $25 or $50 off with all the warranty cards and sold like it's a new camera. When it comes to lenses, I'll shoot lenses and put them back in the box because sometimes you just need to shoot lenses, but they're still perfectly clean, perfectly working order, and that's really it. Some things I buy and then sell, but that doesn't happen very often. Michael Klopping, what would be the best to push my business? A SmugMug account or a website like from Squarespace? So we talked about this earlier a little bit. You need something. You need a place to direct people, but know that if you just build a Squarespace, people aren't just going to find you and hire you. You have to take an active approach in getting people back to your site. You have to do something to bring people awareness to what you do. What would be the best to push my business? Anything. A place where you can put photos. It could be a 500 pic site that costs you $50 for the year, but looks pretty good. SmugMug or Zenfolio. Any one of those sites. Brandon Calhoun, I'm going to my county college for 2 years to obtain an associate's in photography and possibly graphic design as well. What is the next step right after graduation? What is the best way to search for jobs? You find a job. You make a job. You find your way in the world today. It takes everything you've got. I said it 3 times, so maybe we could use that as a secret finding word. But you have to find your way. You make waves. You call people. You bang down their door. You show up at a studio door and you say, "Hey, I'm here to work. I'll broom shit." You know? That's what you have to do. You have to make waves. You can't just search for jobs and hope they're going to show up in a what the hell is that called in a newspaper? A help wanted section? That doesn't exist anymore. You could find a job there, but you're most likely not going to find the job you're looking for. Find out who you want to work for and make it happen. Start contacting them. Knock down their door. Make it freaking happen. Michael Klopping. Again? I guess he's got another question. See, I just took I read questions and not the names. This might be a question for each own, but as in security deposit. Is it best practice to get security deposit from all clients or just wait to be paid after the shoot? Now, what if you don't take a deposit and you start to book clients and there are a lot of flakes and no show-ups? I lose money from booking clients. You got to ask for something. If they're not going to show up, make sure you get something. You have to be diligent here. You have to make sure people are going to show up. If they're not, you bill them for it. They'll probably never pay you for it anyway. But you got to make it clear to them that, look, if I'm taking the time to set up and have a session for you, It's for you. I'm not booking for anybody else to come in. It's just for you. So please be here. You can maybe give people a mulligan once, and if they do it twice, you know, the next time you say, I need a deposit for the second time, you know, feel it out. If it's a good friend, you know, feel it out. Really, it's a feel out situation. Okay, I got it. Jacques Giordano. Do you encounter any issues with dust on the sensor on your D600? I'm tired of this question. Tired of it, not yelling at you, Jacques. I'm tired of this freaking question floating around the internet. If there is a problem with the D600 and you buy one and there's dust and oil and you're finding it to be an issue, Nikon will either fix it or replace it. Sure, you don't want to go into something going, oh, there could be an issue, but I would think that it's less of an issue than people make of it. I know Brandon had an issue with one of the cameras that came, that he had a lot of that oil there. I'm sure the production has gotten better over time, but I'm really tired of this question and people being like, oh, there's oil. So what? If there is, they'll fix it, replace it, make it better. That's my mentality. Go out and shoot pictures and stop worrying about the crap. Tamium Link. Where to get the best online training or otherwise? NYIP. So I guess this is New York Institute of Photography. That is just the name. It's just New York, and if you hear New York, you think that it means something. They're just a website trying to make money selling you products online. Where to get the best on? I go to my website for online training. I want you to learn from me. Go to a boot camp. There's a lot of, you know, like Creative Live has great stuff. Creative Live to me is very informative. I like to be fun and informative, so, you know, follow my stuff. Pick up the FroKnowsPhoto Beginner Guide. But really, you want training? Go out and shoot. I'm not yelling at you, Tamium Link. I'm just saying that New York Institute of Photography, what are you going to learn sitting behind your computer if you just sit there and read the stuff that they give you? Or, you know, you got to go out and shoot. So find the free assignments out there. I got free assignments. Go out and shoot and critique and learn. Go from there. Luke Bolden, and we're almost done. What advice would you give someone who wants to start shooting portraits? I'm shaking my head and drinking water at the same time. Hold on. Here's my best advice I would give somebody who wants to shoot portraits. Are you ready for it? It's groundbreaking and a super secret that I've never told anybody before. Are you listening? Get really close to the speakers because I'm going to whisper. What is the best advice for somebody to start shooting portraits? Start shooting portraits. Thank you. That's my answer. Dean Taffy, your thoughts on home printing up to A2. See, I don't know what A2 is in size. I know your big ass prints are done at Taylor Photo, but do you print yourself at home at all? Good question. I currently do not print at home at all. I have a printer sitting downstairs that Canon sent me. They sent me a Pro 10 with an extra thing of ink and paper so that I can test it out and print it. I'm pretty sure I know what I'm going to say. I've been down this road before. I personally don't own a printer at home because I'd rather go to Adorama Pix, Taylor Photo, MPix, any of these other places online. By the way, Adorama Pix does sponsor, and they do have really good deals, good pricing, and good quality work, so definitely check them out once, and if you don't like it, then go to any of the other places that are out there, but at least check them out the first time if you're looking to print something, and if you like it, keep using it. If you don't, that's on them for failing, and I've done my job by saying, check them out. If you do a lot of printing at home and you sell your stuff on location and you're moving a lot of inventory, then if you need to quickly turn it around, then get a printer for home. If you want to order prints from online and you can wait a day or two, you'll have them in a day or two, and you'll have a real photographic print. I'm not a big fan of something that puts out ink onto a piece of paper that puts out dots, because people talk about resolution. You know what the resolution of a photographic print is? There is no resolution. There's no dots. It's just a photographic print. Somebody's probably going to yell at me because maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. I think I've had this discussion before. So I think that if you have a really good printer at home, then you can get the job done, but I wouldn't have one unless you're turning stuff around all the way. And the last question, Paul Villacres. Any tips and suggestions for HDR photography? I have the tips for you right here. Right here, you guys listening? Get really close to the microphone. I'm close to the microphone. Get close to the speakers. Tips and suggestions for shooting HDR photography. Don't. And that's Raw Talk, guys, for this week. Long Raw Talk. We went over that hour because I talked and answered all these questions. I think it was really good. Big thanks. allenscamera.com. Check them out. Drobo. Check it out for your storage devices. You can win one photo of the month. I'll be giving away a lot of them this year, maybe, doing different things. BBO Poker Tables. Adoramapics.com. Check them out for their photographic prints and books. I love that stuff. And check out the beginner guide. So if you haven't subscribed on iTunes, we put these podcasts out on Tuesday, but we release them on Monday. Like, I promote them on Tuesdays, but they come out on Mondays to anybody that's subscribed. So subscribe on iTunes, Androids. You can get it. You can download the MP3 from the website, but follow it if you want. You can get access to it quickly. And I'm going to move on Tuesday, and I'm going to start doing these talks on location. Wow, I've talked a lot. I got to eat. I'm good. Guys, as always, much appreciated. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all the people that submitted questions. I hope you enjoyed it. Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.